Hi everyone, it's Peter Schiff, and it is Saturday, July 10th, 2010, exactly 1 month from the Republican senatorial primary in Connecticut. And as I promised yesterday, I want to update on the status of the phone banking. First of all, let me announce the winner of yesterday's competition who will get a free autographed copy of How an Economy Grows and Why It Crashes, and that is Travis Wilson. Travis made 189 calls yesterday. Fantastic, great job, Travis. I really appreciate that. He made his calls throughout the day. It seems like he made calls 60 at a time, took a break, and came back. That's really fantastic. In fact, we had, I think, 6 or 7 individuals who each made over 100 calls on the day. These guys are really doing their fair share. They're doing a lot to get that message out. That's the good news. The bad news is we still didn't have a lot of participation. 89 people made calls. That's it, 89. That's about just under 2% of the people who actually viewed the video that I made yesterday as of the time this morning that I'm recording this. Now, those 89 people made an average of, we did 2,502 calls total. That's how many Connecticut voters we called, 2,502. So the average was 28 calls per person, which is not bad. I mean, I'd like to see the average higher than that. But more importantly, we need to get more than 2% of the people making calls. That's just the bottom line. Now, I realize a number of people are international and it doesn't work. We're looking into creating an international option to see what that would cost me to set that up. But at least 50% of my audience has got to be from the United States, if not more than that. So the percentage is still extremely low. We really need everybody to work together and make these calls. Now, hopefully this is a weekend. This Saturday and Sunday, nobody is working, so nobody has an excuse. I think everybody needs to take the weekend and devote it to the Schiff for Senate campaign. I'm devoting a lot of my time. I'm campaigning weekends. 90% of my time during the week is focused on this campaign. You guys can give me one weekend. I know there are a lot of people who are probably intimidated by making phone calls, picking up a phone and calling a stranger. I know how that feels. That's how my business, I got started as a stockbroker, making phone calls, making cold calls, making hundreds and hundreds of dials a day to people who didn't want to talk to me, who had no idea who I was. And I know when I first started, it was intimidating. And, when I call people, a lot of times they were upset. They hung up on me. They were rude. Sometimes they called me names. But you know what? You realize that it doesn't matter. They can't see you. They have no idea who you are. There is no reason to even take it seriously or be embarrassed. And once you start doing it, once you start making a few calls, it'll just be second nature. It won't bother you. You'll do it. Trust me. And for those of you maybe who are young and are maybe aspiring brokers, you want to be a stockbroker one day, maybe even work for me at Euro Pacific Capital, this is good practice. Hone your telemarketing skills, your interpersonal skills. Get used to rejection. Get used to making phone calls. And my feeling is Republican voters are going to be more receptive to you calling them to talk about a Republican candidate in their race than people were to have a Lehman Brothers stockbroker calling them up trying to pitch them stocks. Now, I've also read on the blogs that there are people out there that say, hey, why don't I just make it a monetary incentive? Why don't I just give people $1,000 a day who make the most calls? Well, there's a few reasons that I don't want to do that. One is that I want this to be a volunteer grassroots effort. I don't want the media to be out there saying, oh, Peter Schiff is paying people $1,000 a day to make calls. I want this to be grassroots. Also, if I put out an incentive like that, who knows? Some Linda McMahon people might be calling just to get the $1,000. Who knows what they're saying? People might rush these calls just to win. They might not talk. They're not going to do that to get a $20, $25 book. The rewards are just an extra token of appreciation, but I think the main incentive to make these calls has got to be the desire to see me win this race. And when you make calls, if you get somebody on the phone who is interested, who wants to talk, engage them. Do not rush that call. That might be the person that you convince to vote for me. Ask them if they're supporting anybody in the race. If they say no, then have you heard of Peter Schiff? Tell them why you support me, why you think I need to be the next United States Senator. That'll be genuine. In your own words, what you like about me. Tell that to that person. Let's assume the person says, well, I support Linda McMahon. Ask them why they support Linda McMahon. The chances are the only reason they support Linda McMahon is because they don't know about me. So ask if they say, well, I support Linda because she's not a career politician. She's a business person. So is Peter Schiff. But his business isn't show business. It's not wrestling promotion. It's finance. It's economics. Tell them about my background, why my private sector experience is more relevant than Linda's. Tell them that why I don't have all the baggage that she does. I'm more likely to be elected than she is. Even among Republicans, her favorables are 3 times her unfavorables among the Republicans who know about her. For me, it's 10 times. My favorables are 10 times my unfavorables. So Republicans are far more likely to support me if they know about me than Linda. So use that. We can move a lot of Linda McMahon supporters to the Peter Schiff camp. If they support Rob Simmons, talk about his voting record. In Congress, talk about the fact that he was part of the problem. I am part of the solution. There is a real grassroots movement for change. Tell people I'm the grassroots candidate. In the most recent poll, about 50% of the people who identified themselves with the Tea Party said they supported Linda McMahon. Well, let those people know that the Tea Party supports Peter Schiff, that Hartford, New Haven, Greenwich, all the Tea Parties have endorsed me, as well as other grassroots organizations. If they knew that and they support the Tea Party and they found out that I am the real Tea Party candidate, not Linda McMahon, then they would support me. You can tell them we don't even know if Linda McMahon's a Republican. Well, look at all of her donations to Democrats. She claims she's fed up, but there's no evidence over the last 10 years. She hasn't said anything. She hasn't addressed any objections to anything going on in Washington. Contrast that to my record of books and television appearances, all the warnings. I've been engaged. So talk to people about the differences between me and between Linda, or between me and between Rob Simmons. Remember, if each one of you, if I can get up to 1,000 people a day making calls, and I know, only 89 people made calls yesterday, so it seems like a stretch that I can get 1,000 people. But I know there are more than 1,000 Americans who are listening to this video blog. If each of you can simply convince one voter a day, just one voter a day from now to the election, that's 28,000 voters. That alone is 28% of the people who are going to vote in the primary. Now, assuming they all come out to vote, based on the numbers I already have right now, I'd win. Now, if you can just convince 2 people a day, well, then that gives me a margin of error. I'll probably win for sure. How many calls do you need to make to convince 2 people to vote for me? I wouldn't imagine you'd have to make even 10. So if we can make the average that we did yesterday, or if I had 6 or 7 people who made 100 calls or more in a day, 1,000 people can do it. Everybody can do it. Let's see what happens this weekend. We've got all day Saturday, as I said, all day Sunday. Nobody is working. People are at home. Take the entire day. Maybe there are some people that can spend all day, 10 hours, making these calls. We only have a month left. It's not like I'm asking you to do this forever. We've got 4 more weekends, maybe 5 between now and the primary. I know it's the summer and it's a sunny day, but you know what? Stay in for a weekend. Make the calls. And for some people, look, you could do it. You don't have to use the whole day, a few hours. But let's really try to make this happen. I'm giving it my all. I'm out there. I'm campaigning. I'm doing what I can to win this Senate seat. I need the people who support me, who believe in what I'm trying to do, who helped encourage me to enter this race, to fight with me, to stand with me, to make the calls, to put in the time that's necessary to get this message out. And I know this can work, and this will make news. This is unconventional. I don't know if anybody's ever had a national effort like this. Let's break records. Let's have more people making phone calls for the Schiff for Senate campaign than for any candidate in U.S. history. Let's get this effort into the news and get some additional free publicity based on what we're doing here today. Anyway, that's it, everybody. I really appreciate what you're doing. I will blog again tomorrow and announce the winner for the Saturday calls. Thank you. And also tomorrow, I will announce the winner for the week, the first weekly winner of a copy of Crash Proof 2.0. You have all through Saturday. Sunday starts a new week, so I'll announce the winner. Take care.